Hello everyone. Welcome back to Crime Time. Today we're delving into a chilling and sinister topic, the top 5 worst serial killers in U.S. history. These individuals committed unspeakable crimes that left an indelible mark on our society. Viewer discretion is advised. Let's begin. Starting our list at number 5, we have John Wayne Gacy, a man whose clown persona masked a horrifying reality. John Wayne Gacy, also known as the Killer Clown, was convicted of murdering at least 33 young men and boys during the 1970s. Gacy was a well-liked community member, often dressing up as Pogo the Clown to entertain children at parties and charitable events. However, behind this facade lay a monstrous secret. Gacy lured his victims to his home with promises of work, or simply by impersonating a police officer. Once there, he would trick them into handcuffs under the pretense of demonstrating a magic trick, then proceed to assault and strangle them. Most of his victims were buried in the crawl space beneath his house, a grisly detail that shocked investigators when they finally uncovered his crimes. Gacy was executed by lethal injection in 1994, leaving a dark legacy that still haunts many to this day. Next, at number 4, is the infamous Ted Bundy, a man whose charm and intelligence hid a terrifying darkness. Ted Bundy was one of the most notorious and cunning serial killers in American history. With his good looks and charismatic demeanor, Bundy was able to lure unsuspecting women into his trap. Operating across several states during the 1970s, he confessed to the murders of 30 young women. Although the true number of his victims is believed to be much higher, Bundy would often approach his victims in public places, feigning an injury or impersonating an authority figure to gain their trust. Once isolated, he would abduct, assault, and murder them. Bundy's ability to escape custody multiple times and continue his killing spree added to his notoriety. He was finally captured for good in Florida and sentenced to death. Bundy was executed in the electric chair in 1989, but the horror of his crimes continues to fascinate and terrify. At number 3, we have Jeffrey Dahmer, whose gruesome acts of cannibalism and necrophilia earned him the nickname the Milwaukee Cannibal. Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes were among the most grotesque and unsettling in modern history. Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer murdered 17 young men, often luring them back to his apartment with the promise of money or alcohol. Once there, he would drug them before committing unspeakable acts. Dahmer's horrific pattern included not only murder but also necrophilia and cannibalism. He meticulously dismembered his victims, keeping body parts as gruesome trophies and consuming some of their flesh. Dahmer's depravity was finally exposed in 1991 when one of his intended victims managed to escape and led police back to Dahmer's apartment, where they found a scene of unimaginable horror. Dahmer was sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms but was killed by a fellow inmate in 1994. His story remains a chilling reminder of the darkest corners of human nature. Taking the number 2 spot is Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker, whose reign of terror in the mid-1980s left Los Angeles in a state of fear. Richard Ramirez was a serial killer, rapist, and burglar whose crimes in the 1980s terrorized the residents of Southern California. Known as the Night Stalker, Ramirez would break into homes at night, attacking his victims while they slept. His methods were brutally varied, involving shooting, stabbing, beating, and mutilating his victims. Ramirez often left satanic symbols at the crime scenes, amplifying the fear and hysteria surrounding his attacks. His capture in 1985 came after a group of civilians recognized him and apprehended him in a dramatic citizen's arrest. Ramirez was convicted of 13 murders and numerous other felonies, and he was sentenced to death. He died in 2013 while still on death row, but his legacy as the Night Stalker lives on in infamy. And finally, at number 1, we have the notorious Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, who holds the grim record for the most confirmed kills by any American serial killer. Gary Ridgway's killing spree spanned from the 1980s to the 1990s, with his confirmed victim count reaching at least 49 women, although he claimed to have killed as many as 71. Ridgway targeted vulnerable young women, many of whom were sex workers or runaways. He would pick them up along the Pacific Highway South, strangle them, and then dispose of their bodies in wooded areas or along the Green River, giving him his infamous moniker. Ridgway managed to evade capture for years, but advances in DNA technology finally linked him to several of the murders in 2001. He pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Ridgway's cold and calculating nature, along with the staggering number of his victims, cements his place as one of the most prolific and terrifying serial killers in U.S. history. These 5 individuals represent some of the darkest chapters in American crime history. Their stories are a stark reminder of the evil that can lurk behind a seemingly ordinary facade. If you found this video informative, please like and subscribe to Crime Time for more content. Stay safe and be vigilant. Until next time.